We've been here for 2 days. We've seen a lot of charts, a lot of graphs. I'm going to kind of keep this a little bit lighter. Uh, we've talked a lot about inflation. We've talked a lot about devaluation. We've talked a lot about plan A and plan B at this point. But I think a really simple place to start is one, just kind of going back to our mission, right? Our goal is to create technology that essentially fights inflation, right? We want to protect people from inflation. We want to protect people from devaluation. And that puts us in a really interesting situation because unlike a lot of companies, right, we're not focusing on revenue, we're not focusing on token price, we're focusing on creating the technology that makes that happen. And when we started last year, we set out that like if you want to be the future of money, if you want to build the technology that ultimately people trust as the store of value and it is a new currency, step one is you have to prove you're not going to lose the money. The way we did that was actually getting big in DeFi. At the beginning of the year, that's what we told you we were going to set out to do. And I'm not throwing this number back up there. We've seen it on multiple presentations already, but we got big. We got to $350 million and we didn't lose the money. And once we accomplished that goal, we came into Monetarium last year with a simple question. We got there by winning the game in DeFi. We got there through incentives. We got there through yield farming. We got there through working within that DeFi ecosystem. But ultimately, the way people preserve value isn't by farming. It isn't by chasing LP positions. It's by just holding things in their wallet. It's just by holding things in a bank account. And we came and asked ourselves, how do we get people to just passively hold our tokens? That was the big question we walked away with at Monetarium. And we did a lot of work to answer that question, right? We basically went all over the world. We talked to people in Africa. We talked to people in Asia. We talked to people in Latin America. We explored liquid token wrappers. We explored all sorts of different things. And as we talked to centralized exchanges, as we talked to wallets, as we talked to individuals and retail consumers, and as we talked to the community, it became really, really clear. Although we made our tokens and although we made this amazing, safe product, people were asking for more from us. We were acting as if the money market product was enough, and people were consistently telling us they wanted more things. They wanted more collateral plugins. They wanted more volatile assets. They wanted more creative identities. They wanted to be able to move faster with what they put in. And they kept telling us, just become a decentralized version of BlackRock. And after 6 to 9 months of people asking us to do it, we got the message. And we went down this path. And once we did, the answer became really clear. And this is the index DTF, right? If you think about the yield DTF product, it is a money market product. It is very safe. It is very protected. The index DTF takes that a layer. It allows anyone to put anything in the basket. And this is what our team was asking for. This is what the community was asking for. This is what other protocols were asking for. The ability to get diversified exposure with volatile tokens. And we made it, right? We made this product. We launched it in March, and we've spent the past 3 months in a lot of ways learning how much more we had to build beyond the protocol, right? So if you were there on day one of launch in March, our Zapper success rate was close to 60, 70%, right? If you wanted to go from ETH into a DTF, you had to try a couple times. And the reason why is like when we started with the first round of our tokens, with the first round of yield DTFs, with ETH Plus and USD3, we were working with the most liquid assets in crypto. Like it just turns out that wrap staked ETH, Lido, it's great. It's really easy to get into. It turns out if you're trying to put USDC into Aave, it's really easy to get into. But it turns out when you are working with tokens from virtuals, when you are working with Tibber, when you are working with all sorts of these different things, shout out to Altcoinist over there, it is a challenge. And the graphs that we had to build, the work we had to do to make it easy and accessible was really hard. And it also turns out when you are doing auctions and rebalances so much more frequently with so many different assets, you had to be more thoughtful. Like, we are currently in audit for the 4th version of the Ethereum protocol and the EVM protocol, right? We launched 3 months ago. We're on version 4. And that's because we did it, right? We went through the motions, we went through the effort, we went through the work and identified the things that needed to improve to go to the big time. And now, but now that we have the product, right? Now that we have the thing that people at ETH Denver get really excited about, and we have the product that our customers and our clients and our partners and the protocols are all like, cool, I can use this for things. What's the plan? And that plan is really simply partnerships. It is really simply distribution, right? We cannot do this by ourselves. We cannot make everything in DeFi happen by ourselves. And so we're focused on working with all of the different players in the ecosystem right now. So one side of that is centralized exchanges. We already have a couple listings that are going on. MEXC has the CLX index and has been doing some crazy volumes. We have wallet partners with BitGet Wallet. And we also have a lot of conversations that have been going on behind the scenes. I can't talk about them. We're like still in the works. Some of them are NDA, some of them are just privacy, some of them are we're still figuring out all the details. But like over the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to see this effort because we've already been talking to people for the past basically 9. Since the day we decided we want to do this protocol, we started trying to figure out how to make this happen and how to get this distribution, right? Because at the end of the day, where do people and where does retail buy things in crypto? As much as we in the industry talk about Solana being the retail chain, as much as we in the industry talk about Pump.Fun being where all the retail people are, that's just not true. If you're in the United States, they're on Coinbase or Kraken. If you're in basically the rest of the world, you're on Binance or you're on OKX or you're on any number of these different centralized exchanges. And so pillar 1 of our strategy when it comes to partnerships is get on centralized exchanges. Pillar 2 is working with the folks in the industry who manage a lot of money. So we did an entire sprint with family offices. Our thinking right now is that it may be a little too early with some of the products that we have. But we also got a lot of positive signals from registered investment advisors. And so we had some early conversations over the past 2 months. We've had some conversations while we've been here at Monetarium. And we're going to start turning that into hard requirements, hard aspects of the product and how we can do things. And then lastly, we have partners like Leviathan News who launched the open DTF, right? They have a podcast, they have a newsletter, they have a community. We have the altcoinist guys back there, right? With a crazy community, to say the least. And that is our strategy, right? Our strategy is to focus on going to where the people are, going to where folks have distribution, and building the technology to unlock that. Now, I wanted this to be more of a Q&A than anything else, and so I'm just going ahead and leave it there for y'all to go ahead and ask me anything you want to know about where ABC Labs is and what we're going to be trying to do over the next 6 to 9 months.
I think, yes, distribution is really key. Of course, the quality of the DTFs deployed also very important to incentivize asset management talent. And also that's going to prop up when the platform becomes permissionless. But regarding the distribution, I think there are a few very obvious places to go, which I think you guys are already in talks with. I think the new Coinbase wallet would be a really good distribution platform, probably a mini app as well for the ETFs. And then we discussed on a previous roundtable that maybe notifications and everything could really improve the user experience for DTF holders, maybe deployers as well. And also, we can see that fintech applications embracing crypto, and it's a very big shift, and the two ecosystem is merging together. And that's why probably Revolut and other fintech applications, Uglycash, of course, could be really good partners. And then the product market fit is really strong there as well, because those people don't really know what coin to ape, so they are like rather buying a basket of assets. and they have the distribution. So I think that direction is really
Yeah, it's actually
interesting.
great that you call that out. Like just being in the DeFi and the crypto space, I just say sex listings as like a place. But no, like when Revolut, like Robinhood, these are traditionally fintech companies that are diving into crypto, and that is again on our list, right? Because when you look at volume, when you look at user counts, those all fit in as people who we're trying to work with or working with or
Yeah.
have conversations with.
And also like the truth is that there's also a shift in the markets regarding volume and real users, and it's moving from centralized exchanges rather to DEXs rather, and DEX tools on chain, and that's also like centralized exchanges don't really give that ROI for projects or for token projects anymore what they used to give. But of course, if there is a tier one exchange, then but there is a reason why like Coinbase is exploring or going really deep in the DEX part, and like basically they bridge the two domain like Base and Coinbase so that they catch the volume, they catch the real users, which are nowadays on DEX rather.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
definitely something we're paying really close attention to that specifically. Does anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Gabo.
Hello? Okay. What are the incentives for the distributors?
Yeah, so going back, it actually depends on the distributor. So for centralized exchanges, first and foremost, they care about volume, right? So majority of them, and especially the ones that are the longer tail centralized exchanges that tend to be a bit more less in the US, less the Krakens and Coinbases, but the smaller exchanges are all about volume. And so they prefer the really volatile exchanges. So for example, the Clanker index, the altcoinist index, and they look very much on like what is going on in the DEX volume. And so a lot of what we do there on the market side is just brand awareness of those assets that they are a position that you can get into. For some of the larger centralized exchanges, there's an interest in this idea of broad-based crypto exposure, right? So indexing is having its time. It's in the zeitgeist of the entire industry. And so a lot of the big players are really looking to us as a solution for offering their users and offering their customers, right? This broad-based index exposure through decentralized token folios. So for them, it's more of like a strategic alignment, and again, it's trading volume. And the last category that we talked about well, I guess for RIAs, it is one, having a product that kind of matches what their customers are looking for when it comes to crypto and matching and being able to provide it, right? And so just for context for everyone else, like a registered investment advisor is helping other people put together their broader portfolio. So not just crypto, their stocks, their bonds, their retirement strategy, all of those things. And so for them, it's one, having the right toolkit, having the right financial products, have the right DTFs deployed for them to kind of fill that niche. And then separately, because the folios generate fees, because the folios have the TVL and the minting fee, that creates an incentive alignment for them if they either want to deploy their own folio or if they want to use an existing folio and then work with the DAO for a partnership, because it's just a simple governance action to add a fee recipient. Yeah, and then those are honestly the main ones. Family offices just want returns, and within whatever context parameters that specific family is looking for. Anyone else have a question?
Hello. Okay. So, in terms of partnership focuses, have you guys kind of identified? It's because it's very easy to be casting a wide net in situations like this. It's like cast a wide net and hopefully something's gonna catch on. But have you guys tried to focus in on specifics? I know that we discussed like now that Solana's coming up, maybe more like community-driven DTF deployers can be interesting in terms of distribution when it comes to the crypto native crowd. But I'd be really curious to hear like what your insight is, what the main focus should be.
Yeah, so I think of it as like probably 80% of our effort right now, or on the EVM side. I kind of separate out Solana from the EVM protocol just for any number of technical reasons and GTM reasons that kind of come with it. But one, about probably 70% of our effort is focused on EVM, and in that, CEX listings, centralized exchange listings, is the elephant in the room. right? That is what dominates all of our conversations. That is like the main thing we're focused on. At the same time, right, me as like the head of product and like Griff, the head of BD, like we're separately going out and having other conversations to make sure that like in addition to we have a clear idea of what centralized exchanges want, right? We have a clear idea of the process to get onto those exchanges. And we've built a lot of the technology to unblock those relationships, right? So now it's both a matter of time, it's a matter of like regulatory clarity, it's a matter of talking to lawyers, it's a matter of all those types of things. It's just BD, right? And so in parallel to that, of like building this technology that we know very clearly what the requirements are, it's then doing the discovery conversations with these other players, right? And so we were just for the past like 2 months really doing a lot of discovery conversations with the family offices. And now we're going to be shifting a bit of our focus to doing discovery calls and customer discovery with these registered investment advisors too. I think get to the point Gabo is making, which is how do you make sure you align incentives? How do you make sure you are serving a problem for them? Right? Ultimately, I don't want to build technology to build technology. I think that's just utterly pointless. I want to build technology that does something for people. And the way you do that is aligning to incentives and solving a real problem, both for the holders of the DTF, but also the distribution partners who we want to work with.
You mentioned that around 60 to 70% of the mints were successful upon launch. Have you seen that number improve as time has gone on?
Yeah, so it's currently around 90% to 95%.
Much better.
Sometimes, so liquidity tends to be like one of the big constraints. So, and we are a permissionless platform, right? So if governance decides to add a token with thin liquidity, like we will have to sometimes we'll have to figure out new routes, we'll have to figure out new approaches, and that has like dropped it. And so there've been, just for context for everyone, right? There was a token that literally decided to migrate from Base to Solana and took all of its liquidity out of the LP on Base and moved to Solana. And so that DAO had to like coordinate with the like meme coin community to like figure out how to kind of move that over. So things like that can happen, and that's an example, like a pretty extreme example, but high level answer to your question, 90 to 95% depending on the day.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. If y'all don't have any questions, I want to make sure Gabo has a chance to go deep on what's going on with Uglycash. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
Hey everyone. So just wanted to make this more of a conversation, and you guys probably heard already the presentation that I did on the stage. Wanted to double click in a few areas that I think that are really interesting about our strategy. First of all, I mentioned that Uglycash is a stablecoin app. And the reason that we wanted to differentiate and call ourselves a stablecoin app is because we're a stablecoin-driven infrastructure, and the kind of services that we use differentiate from what traditional banks actually offer. So, in a way, for us, in order to explain it, we wanted to make it clear like we were not a bank, that we are not a bank. In fact, our slogan is, your bank won't do this. And we enter by being straightforward with the customer. We are a stablecoin app, we are Uglycash, two things that people will actually ask questions about, but we take these questions, we know that they're gonna ask these questions, and then we introduce with transparency and explanation why we do the things we are and how then we build trust from there. Also, another topic, also from this one-liner, the global bank, and put here quote unquote, this is not something that we use out there in the public and never refer to that for the customers. I just use it on the context on the pitch for an audience in a one-liner to understand basically what it is. But what we were trying to do there, that it connects with our solution stack, we were trying to build a vehicle where people can have their whole financial life. So what is on the mind of the audience is like, it's a bank, but we want to achieve that being a stablecoin app, not a bank. But we want that that financial center, their whole financial life, to be optimized for the internet generation. And there is a reason also behind it. The internet generation is encompass like Gen Zs and millennials. Millennials actually on the younger end. Gen Z is considered basically the core of what the internet generation is. And the internet generation is the first generation that was fully born, basically the Gen Zs, that were fully born into the era of social media. They were born into the social feeds. And especially with smartphones, feeds that are basically sharing similar memes, similar tips, similar jokes, similar brand exposures, regardless if they are in DC, in Buenos Aires, or somewhere in Bali. So yes, the algorithm customized, but it's also there is a lot of cultural connection that is flying at a speed that never before it created. In fact, according to McKinsey, the internet generation is the first generation that share more characteristics regardless of borders than ever before. And precisely is because they have been fitting on what 90% of them call one of their favorite activities to do out of the same TikTok algorithm. So that's why we decided okay, there is a generation that is borderless. The stablecoin infrastructure, stablecoins itself, is inherently global. We're aiming to build global financial services. There is a generation that sees the world global, is interconnected, and have similar characteristics. And as we knew that building trust is one of the hardest challenges, we optimize on a generation that sees the world as inherently global. That were the kind of services that we were doing, and that also seek truth and trust in a different way than ever before, because they're looking on TikTok, they're looking on Google, they're like their way of like investigating and building, and the way that they connect also with a brand is totally different because of the way that they have grown up. So when I was making mention to this everyday financial center, we focused in Uglycash to build a multi-product suite where people could receive their money, save their money, send money, spend their money. Basically the core and the basis of what you do already in your financial institution. So we needed to have all of that capabilities from the start. We didn't want it to be a cross-border transaction, a cross-border app like a remittance platform. We didn't want it to be a crypto exchange because then to change the recognition, the positioning on the minds of the people is something that is really difficult to do. So what we wanted to emulate is from the very beginning is an experience that, yes, I understand that this is a stablecoin because we're being frontal. We are not hiding in fine prints here. We're telling you, yes, this is a stablecoin app, but you can do very much the same as you will do in your financial institution, but actually more, we're giving you more services precisely because we're using programmable money that are precisely what the stablecoins allows you to do. So for that reason, like in our app, you can find like the card, you can find virtual accounts for the US, for Europe, even from Mexico. People is like I was mentioning, our users like receive their payroll, spend with their cars, save money. They do investments as well. Like the first investment vehicles I would put was for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And users are doing all of these activities, making Uglycash their financial center, not only like a place where they're getting their payroll and they're moving out, is making it their financial center, and that is what is going on that front. Another component, Sean was precisely talking about distribution. So like being one of the core components of where people go and make their financial activity, being like the either wallets or centralized exchanges or so on. So Uglycash, beyond our purpose and our mission and the use case that we come to solve, is inherently a distribution vehicle for the reserve ecosystem, or backbone of all products or of the core products that we use are reserve products. And there is a reason behind that, or there is like on the context of the stablecoin aspect, there is more layers of security, there is an ability for us to get yield out of them, that then we create rewards programs out of that. And down the line, we seek also to integrate also DTF and so on, because what I was commenting on my pitch, if you own the customer relationship, you control the distribution, the revenue, and future expansion. Like, at the end of the day, being a Binance or a Coinbase, oh, this is working out, I'm going to make my own system, I'm going to create my own infrastructure. If they are the ones controlling the distribution, nothing is effectively going to stop them. So on that form, if we have our own vehicle that allows that is focused on capturing that trust, making people to become their financial center for their everyday, because it's not an exchange or not a remittance platform, then we have the ability to offer more financial products and more financial services. So that's the reason that at the very beginning, even on the context of Reserve, one of the first big projects that Reserve did was precisely the Reserve app that ended up becoming what is today Uglycash, because owning the distribution gives you then that ability to control the different aspect of the chain, allowing them to secure not only a position for us, but also for the Reserve ecosystem as a whole. Other aspects that I likely mentioned that are very distinctive in our SEN, it's our ability to connect with our audience and to build trust with our audience. Just to point out, in a month, usually we get around 7 million views. This is something that we achieved in just 6 months of our go-to-market strategy. People is not only like watching, they're connecting with the brand. They're like, they want to be part of it. They like, we build something that they seek as cool, fun, aspirational, but understand the purpose as well of what's going on. And at the same time, this is reflected what is happening on the socials, on the communities that we're building, the micro communities that we're building directly on WhatsApp from users that get into Uglycash. Many times they are not able to even fund the account because we don't have on-ramps in many jurisdictions yet, but because they feel connected to the brand, they feel something that is speak to them, they see the future, they resonate with, yes, this is something that my bank will do, and they stay on the communities and share with the communities about their experiences. The community help them fund their account. They generate and build trust within one another. And when I talk about these communities, just to have a reference, on 1 month, we get an average of 90,000 messages on those WhatsApp groups. We have WhatsApp groups, one per country, and one like and different ones for the region. That shows the kind of engagement that there is happening. That these are directly being funneled directly from Uglycash. Some other traction deeds that we didn't share on the presentation here. Currently, we are around $4 million on assets under management. We were basically at zero back in October when we launched our go-to-market strategy. This, as you have seen, has been steadily growing as well. And this excludes any employees or any other corporate liquidity. This is exclusively of individual consumers because we are not serving businesses with Uglycash directly over here. On the aspect of the monthly volume, right now, we are having around $12 million in monthly volume at the individual level. Again, this is not including any business OTC operations. Currently, right now, you can see the trend over there going. This, you can see as well on the monthly transactions. We're currently doing around 90,000 transactions per month, a trend that continues to grow. Our customer base is spread across different countries, like I was mentioning, in different pockets. It's more, it's bigger on the countries where we started or go to market, but has fine similarities on the growth. And why is that? Because also this internet generation has similar needs. They are more content creators, and they are more connected to generate income through the internet. That income is global, and many times they don't have an easy way to get that income and then use it locally. When I talk about easy way, a convenient way, because there are hoops, there are many costs that they can do in order to do it, but making it in a very simple platform, in a neobank, basically, that allows them to do all of this activity is something that is more novel to them. Other components related to or retention that is really interesting as well. It flattens around month 3 at around 50%, and then it stays flat at 50% 3 months after. So that's something, it's a quite high retention rate of our active customers. This is specifically talking about our active customers on this front as well. 30% of the people that is being activated is coming from our customers already. And 70% of them are coming because of the social influencers. That is one of the tactics that we use. The CAC is quite high at the very beginning. It flattens over time. The reason that is quite high at the very beginning, whenever you're landing in a new jurisdiction, there is a brand awareness component that is embedded into this initial cost. So when we double click into these pieces, it shows how it flattens around. Currently, we have around 9,000 active customers that produce these volumes that we were talking about. But even though it's 9,000 active customers, considering that we launched at the end of October, we also have around 85,000 KYC and biometrics approved customers that we have an activation problem, because you have like a huge pipeline there, but those people keep connected on the communities, keep connected, and they're not activating because we don't have on-ramps on these countries. They don't have a way to put money in. We're working on that right now. On that aspect, they're asking for it because one of the core features of the app is our saving capabilities and the geo-generating capabilities. But so it's an activation problem that we know the inside, we know what we need to do, and that we're also working on it. We're about to expand over the next few weeks to the African region as well, and to the Asia Pacific region, and we're really excited about the roadmap ahead as well. We're going to integrate a social layer, really important to replicate the community behavior that we're able to do and that we very effectively do, to incorporate it also within the app. I don't know, Luis, if there is something else to add.
No, I would just probably add 2 or 3 comments to put things in perspective as we've been talking about, especially on Plan B. What's the role that Uglycash plays in the entire ecosystem's mission? And I would say we're pretty much trying to answer 3 questions here. First one is, the main core thesis is to what extent people everywhere actually want stable currency, and to what extent we can prove that's the case. And so I think this is telling that, yeah, I mean, to the extent that we can provide that precise stable currency, and still talking about a US dollar denominated one, not even close to the idea of a flat coin, which we hypothesize it could be even better. Just that idea alone reveals that, yeah, assets under custody keeps going up. And it's the fact that actually people are using us as a savings mechanism, not only as a payments mechanism. So I wouldn't say we have landed on a definitive answer, but there's clear signs that is the case. And as Gabo mentioned, this is not only concentrating on one single country, it's that 15 countries are saying kind of the same thing. So the first core question kind of feels like we're finding that that's a positive answer. The second one is okay, the market kind of like speaks to this need, but are we able to tap into that demand effectively? And so that is related to the other statistics that Gabo was sharing, which is obviously, yeah, as we all know, cutting the attention of people is probably one of the most hard things to do lately. But thanks to the effective social media tactics that we have put together, and in combination with the strong brand and cultural engagement of the type of demographics that we have been appealing to, it seems like that yes, there is this community-driven mechanism by which we can actually tap into network effects and other dynamics that make it so that we are switching between first having to invest in bringing that awareness up towards kind of like changing the mix towards a more community-driven growth loops. And so that's encouraging to see. We're still, I would say, in the first stage of that process, but it's encouraging to see that the mix is trending towards that composition. So the second question seems to be that, yes, we're heading to the right direction. And the third one is kind of like, okay, can we do that sustainably? Can we do that at scale? And that's more of a working process right now. Obviously, as Gabo mentioned, this is just as early as October, so a little over 6 months. We are excited definitely by the traction, but there's certainly a lot of room for improvement, even optimization when it comes to optimizing our pricing or our unit economics, even bringing down the CAC, as Gabo mentioned. So I would say that third question is still work in progress, very, very, very early stage. But I wanted to just share a little bit of how we're thinking about this project, Uglycash, as a core component within the broader ecosystem's mission, in terms of really what we're motivated here is to see to what extent this can be used by real world users in real world use cases, because that's ultimately what moves us. And we're excited to see that the market is responding well. It's like we're saying that yes, this is resonating out there. There's a lot of work to be done still, but we're excited about continuing working on that. And as Gabo mentioned, this is Latin America already, 15 countries, quite a lot. But now we're going to Africa, we're going to Asia, other places. As you all know, it takes. I mean, typically, in the outside, you would only see the tip of the iceberg. Below the iceberg, there's a lot that has to happen. And also because of the fact that we are in the world of trying to put together the digital world with the fiat world, and that requires us to work with financial institutions and in a fully compliant way. And so that takes a lot longer, believe me, a lot longer than we would want, versus just doing everything on DeFi or some other way. So that's kind of like the journey where we are at, and we just wanted to share a little bit more color in terms of that. And yeah, outside of that, open to any questions.
So how does the referral work? Is it embedded in the app, or is it like word of mouth communication?
It's actually pure word of mouth, related to their families, related to friends and similar that share the use case. That's where that 30% that we are showing is coming from. We recently, as long as like last week, the beginning of last week, we launched a new an internal referral program within the app that allows people to provide a referral code now, because we were waiting first to have an initial flywheel of customers that were doing this organically, to add a referral program on top of it. And we just added an internal referral program within the app. It has its own uniqueness to it, because we are rewarding customers based on the balance of the people that they are referring on. So that way, it's not that we're paying them, $10 or $20 to invite somebody, they activate it, and then they charge back. they need to have active balance, and based on that active balance, we do a weekly payout. So that has like a win-win correlation, but that is it's not what is showing on those numbers. It's just very recent.
Yeah, and to add to that, precisely we wanted to find an incentive that is tied more to something that is sticky versus the easily hackable, just pay one single payout and they just cash it out and goodbye. So that's among other things the reason why we are incentivizing towards the balance of your referee, and we're granting 1% of that balance to the one that refers it. So we're excited about seeing what the data tells us in terms of how much that triggers the networks effect that we're looking for. I would say we have very little data right now. It's just a couple of weeks, but excited to see how that win-win situation unfolds, because it provides you access to the person's balance and vice versa. And so it's a win-win. Both get a reward out of that referral. So it kind of like speaks to the win-win incentives there. We'll see if it works. Any ideas, questions around it?
I will randomize it. Like I will give some users this opportunity and some not. Then you have a control group, right? I don't know if you're doing that.
Yeah, we're not doing that kind of experiment. We have more of an ethos of just build, ship it, and iterate from that, because our team is quite small and doing multiple things in multiple jurisdictions at the same time, and then we learn and iterate fast from it.
So 2 questions. Simple one first. Do you categorize an activated user as someone who just deposits funds, or is there an additional?
No, it's actually a very tight definition. It goes with, it needs to do at least 2 transactions per month to be considered active. So it's a monthly active customer, what we're referring to, that is effectively doing at least 2 transactions on that month.
Okay, great. And the second one, I mean, there's a distribution in terms of the pie chart for the countries. So I'm very curious to hear like what you guys attribute that distribution, like so much more success in El Salvador versus like Colombia. Is that just based on targeting the countries during different times, or is there something clear that you guys are seeing that is resonating more with specific countries versus other ones, maybe culturally or something else?
Yes. So when I presented the presentation, I call about generations and small nations behind. So for a country like Colombia, like Mexico, like Brazil, places like Revolut or Neobank, they will, oh, yes, I want to invest in a banking license, and I'm going to invest millions and millions of dollars to be able to localize and build the experience that I need and the utilities that I need. And they will have an amazing neobank, world level neobank, actually in that particular country. Then you have a whole, like what is called a small left out nations that are places like Salvador. They're not showing here because this graph is a little bit older, and we did our go-to-market like country by country, so they started to grow in different places. But places like Ecuador, Paraguay as well, are having double-digit week-over-week growth right now, because they qualified into the small nations, where Revolut, Neobank, is not going to invest the millions of dollars that are required to the localization in order to have, but they find that in Uglycash the kind of tools that they will have in Neobank, where, for example, in Mexico, Neobank is a direct competition. Mexico is a very difficult country to enter on, because there are like not only Neobank, Revolut is coming in as well, or so on. So the users have more alternative than on the smaller nations. And in smaller nations, like people sometimes think, oh, stablecoins only qualify for high inflationary countries or cross-border transactions. Ecuador, just an example of this, is having double-digit growth. It's a dollarized economy. El Salvador, another dollarized economy as well. But we outcompete local neobanks because they don't have enough of funding, utility, they are outdated precisely by the kind of activity similar in places like Paraguay, Guatemala, Honduras, that we have also those kind of growth. So that's the reason that has been more successful on the small behind left out nations. And then on those other countries, places like Colombia or Argentina, they still, there is a more of an appeal to the brand and connection to the brand. And there is another component we will self-name as America's Stablecoin App. Our whole compliance program is a US-based compliance program. We are an MSB here. And basically, something that people trust a lot and also like a lot beyond our transparency and connection that we do is that, oh, it's actual an American fintech that is actually offering this service. So if you're in Argentina, you may have amazing options like Lemon, Velo, Wemby, but there are still local fintechs. And we all know as Latin Americans, like compliance rules in those countries are not very much the same as of how strict and tight they are in the US. And the advantages is very much like having a Bank of America account while you are in one of those countries outside of the US. So that has been basically more of the appeal. Of course, the growth there is different than what it happens on the smaller nations.
Cool. Last question. I'm very curious because you mentioned like Revolut very frequently, so I'm guessing they're a pretty large competitor to you guys. I'm really curious how you guys are viewing in terms of the separators, apart from branding as well and the stable coins, but how you guys are ping-ponging in the team about, okay, how can we differentiate us even more? How can we cater to audiences? Maybe even have them switch apps, because these apps, they usually, when they get onto a user, you guys have the 50% retention rate because usually these users are very loyal. What's your strategy there? Because clearly the branding part is working really well because you have like a clear separation there. Which I applaud you guys for because that's really solid. So, but I'm really curious to hear.
Yeah. So, great question. And this is something that we anticipated from the very beginning. Like I mentioned, I'm working on crypto since 2015, trying to change first the reality of my home country back there in Venezuela. So it's like seeking and seeing the trends of the space for quite some time. What I anticipated, and this goes beyond Revolut, is that the financial pipes are going to become commoditized. Basically, what took Revolut a decade to build and to be able to become that behemoth, over the next 5 years, there are going to be 1,000 new Revoluts out there because of the stablecoin stack is being commoditized and so easily accessible to do that there's going to be 100 new financial players or thousands more, not even 5 years. I give it 2 years to that happen. That is already happening. We're seeing kind of like similar services and so on and different providers because that is being commoditized. So there are two components on that related to how do we seek to differentiate. One is clearly the brand. So on that front, what I saw based on other commoditized segments, one of the most famous is sodas or water. We wanted to appeal to the internet generation in a way that will dramatically stand out compared to everybody else. So in a way, you can think of us as the liquid death of fintech, but in a global scale. So that's why when you see our name of Uglycash, it's like we call it like a slap on the face, because it's like, this doesn't make sense. I wouldn't put my money on Uglycash, but that is what we're trying to evoke, and then we play basically with it. A second component of that again, like differently to Revolut, that needs all the banking licenses so we can reach to all of these small nations in a faster ways, and what it took Revolut decades to build for us took us over like a little bit over a year, but now it's even faster, is the social component. And I'm not referring to the purpose-driven approach. I'm referring to the community and social component of it. What you saw in the WhatsApp groups that are sending over 90,000 messages per month, this is very unique and very rare. And it's not our first time doing it. We actually did it back at the time in Venezuela. People think many times people think oh, well, yeah, like a nation that is destroyed economically, they will pick up everything financial because they're in need. Actually, when you are in places like Venezuela or Argentina or many underserved countries, you have like financial paranoia. The bank is gonna shut down, they're gonna steal my money, everything is a scam, I don't trust anything. That is basically how you feel it. So the WhatsApp groups were very intentional. So like, let's actually create a social peer group where people is gonna come at the very beginning because they saw something fun and cool about the brand and they are curious about it and they like the utility about it, and then they come and ask about, is this a scam? Does this work? Is like, but then they stay because of the community, because of the different breadcrumbs that we do.
Very crypto. I like it. It's very crypto inspired. So, yeah.
So, but what you're seeing on WhatsApp, now our next stage of what we're gonna do, we're incorporating all of that social layer and that social behavior within Uglycash. Something that you probably are seeing currently in Firecaster or on the Coinbase wallet that is including Firecaster as well. But we take a different approach because like the thing about usually crypto, and like I work in crypto, but I'm not a crypto person. I care about people, I care about value, I care about the impact of humanity. I'm technology agnostic. I seek what are the best things to build in order to get to the purpose. So that social behavior that we are capturing, that 80% of our customers identify themselves as not being crypto customer, never have transacted before in crypto. Our brand appeal, it transcends borders, it goes beyond crypto completely. We are going to infuse that social mechanics within the app in our own way with a brand that can appeal more massively to the population, and with KYC characteristics that in the world of AI, basically what World App is doing with the iris in a way, but fintechs have had been solving and working through these problems already. So with KYC verified, we're going to have a social fee, social component. Not going to reveal fully in that right now because it's work on progress, but it's something that is going to help us further differentiate into that.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a couple questions about the savings APY. First, I saw in the page that you guys said that no user funds are being invested and the APY is solely on the resources of Uglycash. So my question is, first, how do you guys determine that APY? And second, do you fund that APY like with straight cash, or do you do investment and use like the return and like the users can expect that APY to maintain for a time, or is more oriented to like get users at the beginning and then when you guys like fully became super big, it won't be like that reliable, like that number?
It's a mix. Let me explain you a little bit about it. Precisely is one of the first questions that people come asking. This is the app, probably is too far for people to see. You can see here the currently 8% APY. But whenever somebody enters first to the app, they start at 4% APY. And basically, in order to get to 8% APY, they need to come and learn. They click, it's a very one-click thing at the point, and then we're explaining them how are we obtaining that APY, what is EUSD, what are the risks that Uglycash has, because stablecoins has risk, and Uglycash has risk, counterparty risk that we have. So and by answering each one of these questions that you have, we are then incentivizing 1% of their basic APY. So that is, I just wanted to explain this on how we do it basically for the customers. It's also very essential on when you see the different functionality of the app. There is a huge thing that here say like, we are not a bank. It's like really, really big. You click that and you enter into a whole website that we designed that it says we are not a bank, and that explains more in detail about EUSD, that explain more in detail how the APY is generated, and then you can see I wouldn't call it a proof of reserve level, but then you can see the wallets where the reserve of the funds of the customers are and how they're like moving in also in real time. So we're like showing like different like from the banks on the aspect of the fractional reserve system and so on. So we're showing transparently where your funds are at a whole time to show you we are not lending this out. So how are we getting money? Because we're not getting APY. We're giving actually APY rewards to the customer from our own corporate funds. But we do get revenue from the holdings of the funds that we have. How is that? EUSD has an fintech incentive revenue share program. That is through a voting mechanism that it happens through USD. Actually, Cents is another fintech that is also in that incentive revenue share program that allow us to get the underlying yield of the collateral of EUSD. That way, we're getting basically those that like the yield that are DeFi yield from the underlying collateral, because the collateral of USD is compound USDC, Aave USDC, and things Aave USDT. So we're able to get that. As you're aware, currently, DeFi yields are around 4% currently. So there's like a 4% difference as well. You know that this fluctuates over time. In December, January, you know, it was like 9, 12, and then it fell down. Our decision was to keep it stable at 8. Use the difference. We incentivized it as part of our marketing budget because we wanted to keep it fixated. I didn't want to add a cognitive load to the customers as a fluctuating mechanism to it, even though they're told and they're explained about this in this topic. It's just easy for your first time experience to enter into something fixed into it. Down the line, what we expect to do more experimentation into this, very similar to how Coinbase actually does it with USDC, that it experiments, you know, something like we both get into Coinbase, we may have different APY rewards from USDC, based on our customer profile or different experiments that they do. So down the line, we see more experimentation this happening, but because of the current asset under custody, like the current difference that is 4, is not as 4%, it's not a representative, and it's just part of our marketing initial budget on that front. Okay, I'm sorry I talked too much. That's it.